We're going to get started right away here on our live interview today with one of our community members, Melissa from the Dancing House, also the creator of BoogieFit. So give me 1 second and I am going to bring Melissa on. This is my first time doing this, so let's see if we can make it work. Yay, technology, and let's add Melissa. Add. There we go. Let's see, it says adding. Woohoo, exciting. adding. So my husband and I were trying this last night in a group that I have that no one else is a member of other than myself and Chris and Sarah. But Sarah thought it was this group, and we had this really funny video of us trying to make this work. Hey, hey, there's Melissa.
Okay, so
hey girl,
I need to rotate.
Are you in landscape?
Yep,
yeah. One more time. Now you're upside down.
Flip. There we go.
There we go. Awesome. I was just letting everyone know I tried this out last night with my husband, and I have another group that just my husband, myself, and Sarah, my assistant, are members of, so we can test things like this. But Sarah thought it was this group, and so she sent me a frantic text message last night being like, I think you went live by mistake in the group. And I was like, no, it's all good.
So this is a new
always
feature.
A good thing to try these things.
This is new.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is
and
really nice.
It only works with the phone. Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, yeah. This makes things a lot easier. This is great.
I know.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're going to have to do lots of guest interviews coming up here in the group soon.
I agree. I totally agree. This is great. This is so good for biz. All right. How are you? Woohoo! Okay.
Woohoo! I am good. Before we get started, I just feel like you need to let everyone know about like your exciting news, because you had some major news this week for your business.
I did. So if you don't, for those of you that don't know, I am a studio owner, but I'm unique in the fact that I have been out of my house for 10 years, and I wore that badge very proudly because I have 5 kiddos and I'm a single mama, and it just made my life a lot easier and a lot less stress. And and I kind of fought going against the wave of big property and rent, and but I'm busting at the seams, and I just didn't want to look back. The deciding factor came down to what would it feel like if on my deathbed, and I was like, no, I would have been ticked at myself for not going for it. So that's what helped me decide. I had that kind of big girl talk this week. So I signed a lease on Friday. 3,000 square feet. It is gorgeous. It is huge. It is scary. I cried more about this than anything, but it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, I remember when we opened our first big studio location, and the sleepless nights and the tears are real.
So real.
But I also want to say, I think it's so awesome that you started in your home, because it allowed you to grow a business and be profitable without having all this stress of like leasehold improvements and trying to build a clientele. And I didn't have a studio in my home, but I started my business as a mobile studio. And then once I had enough clientele, did the same thing and opened a location. And I'm so thankful for that, because it really allowed us to be successful right out the get-go. And I think more people need to be open to those types of options. Think outside the box, be unique. But I'm also like, good for you for now pursuing your dream. And I'm so excited to follow along. And I'm sure a lot of our community will be too.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we start then, Melissa? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your dance business? We know now that you've been operating out of your home, but can you just give us a little bit more about your background as a business owner and what the Dancing House is all about?
Absolutely. What makes the Dancing House unique, there's 4 studios in my community of 12,000. And I have a niche because I am beginner based for students of all ages. So for me, I'm not really an athlete. Like I'm not basketball and football and stuff, or, doing that thing, going to those events. I kind of freak out because I don't know where to sit. Okay. So I think about those are the parents that when their daughter or son say, I want to take dance class, those are those parents I'm reaching. So how can I make it the most inviting, comfortable, low stress, special, memorable, but have strong foundations and technique, knowing that my students will probably be here 4, 5, maybe 6 years tops. Like if they start at 3 years old and go until 9, that's great. Okay, that's for me. That's kind of what my thing is. But then at that point, and even in life, that's kind of when, okay, well, I really want to kind of go into this dance thing, or you know what, I really want to play soccer. And that's where they decide. And then I refer them to these awesome studios in my community. And therefore, I have a really great rapport with the other studios in my community. I
That's
coach,
so awesome.
students like higher level students, but I mean, it just is awesome. I'm doing some guest choreography at another studio this fall. So it's a great, I know my niche. I'm not trying to be a competitive studio. I don't want to be a competitive studio. I offer this place and it's served me well.
I love it because my story is so
Mm-hmm.
similar and our business strategies were very similar. And it's so interesting now that one of my daughters is like entering the competitive dance world because that's what she wants to do. But it's at a studio that I had a very similar relationship with. It was near my former studio. It was actually a friend of mine from university, and we would always be sharing students back and
Mm-hmm.
forth to help people find where they needed to be in their dance journey. And so now my daughter's at her wonderful studio, really enjoying like being in a competitive, studio environment. She's flourishing there. It's eye opener for me. And there's so many days I'm like, yep, I know why I didn't do
Uh-huh.
competitive
Uh-huh.
dance because it's not my
Mm-hmm.
thing. And kudos to the studios who do it. But I think that's so awesome. And I think that that's so important just in business in general is like, what is your niche
Mm-hmm.
and really catering to
Mm-hmm.
that within your
Mm-hmm.
community. So then why did you start offering adult dance fitness classes? We know you love the beginner world and that's really where you're carving your niche. How does adult dance fitness fit into
Well,
that?
let's go back a little further. When I first opened my doors, that's what I want. I mean, I wanted adults. I didn't want to teach babies, but
Okay.
adults didn't pay the bills. Okay, so adults they're not consistent. They're busy and whatever. So, but I started this class out of my home called BoogieFit. It was not called BoogieFit in the beginning. It was like, hey guys, I'm sick of my kids. I need some mama time. I think I can create a little class here. Who's coming? You can pay me $1. I literally charged $1 because I didn't even care who came. And so I have a fabulous group of neighbors, and they came, and we started doing this thing. And then people came, and they kept coming back, and it was a great workout because after my third baby, so I had my third baby, and like 3 weeks later, started this class. And I just need some mama time as a stay-at-home mama. And people came back and they liked it. It was a really good workout. They're like, this is a kick-ass workout and it doesn't feel like I'm working out because it's so fun because you're dancing. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. So they helped me create the name. And then my husband at the time helped me get a logo. So that logo is like 10 years old before I really started doing anything with it. And I love it. And I just have been doing it ever since, every week. And we'll talk about how having a beginner babies has fueled that. So starting with that, but then realizing, okay, I got to have some babies to feed myself, bread and butter. And then because the beginner babies, then that grew as well.
Absolutely. It's interesting because you started with the adults, and I kind of did the same thing. Uh, Before I even had my first daughter, I was, teaching in a school, but then on the side, I was teaching a lot of recreational dance, and dance fitness was kind of my jam. I worked for some city organizations. And so for me, once I had my daughter, it was just something I'd already kind of been doing a little bit of. And I had all these moms coming to my mom and baby classes, but then after a year they were back at work. They still wanted to dance. And it is a fun workout. And I love that we have so much more research coming out now that shows how beneficial it is to
Mm-hmm.
adults. I think it's just one of the selling points and it's going to keep people coming back. But I also love how you built it out of passion.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't that the best place to build a business from? Is something that you love. I mean, the fact that you would only charge $1, I think really shows this is something you just
Either that or it
love.
was really selfish. I mean, you could look at it two ways. I wanted to work out. I wanted to dance. I wanted to dance. It was about me. Yeah, and that's how we all start everything, right? It's something that we didn't see that, and then, gosh, you get people to follow you. So, yeah.
So what do you think then are like some of the major benefits of like adult dance fitness? Like what are your clients telling you? What are you seeing?
One of them that surprises me is the balance. We take that for granted when we've been dancing so long, but people who don't and are new to it, even in the dance fitness. So my BoogieFit is like Zumba on steroids. So it's not step touch for 8 counts or 16 counts. It's choreography that you learn through the month. Um, but the biggest one is the balance and the change of weight and how, when you're in it, you take that for granted. The other one is just the brain. Like it's so like learning and learning to reverse things, being intentional about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all, even experienced dancers, were like, whoa, flip it over, what? And then you have to take some time. But that is so good for your brain. And there's studies on Alzheimer's and all that stuff. And we're, just challenging our brain differently. And because, and I'm sure you do this, we do it with our babies. Say it with me, and then it trickles down to the feet. So I say that even in my dance fitness, say it with me, the combination, so that it trickles down to the feet. Balance that, and then it just is fun, and the empowerment they feel afterwards. Like I have my class on a Monday night, okay, and it's been Monday night forever. And every time they come in and they're exhausted, but they got their butts there. And then they leave and they're so happy. They're laughing. They're like, I'm so glad I came. And that's, and they feel good. They feel good. And that's what I want to. I want them to feel empowered and just stronger women.
I love that, because that's always my goal in any class that I
Mm-hmm.
teach. If I can just go in and leave people feeling a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better when they arrived, I've done my job,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what we actually did.
Yep.
That is my ultimate goal. And I love that you bring up balance. My mom is a
Mm-hmm.
senior, and wasn't really. She was kind of one of those. I was one of those kids growing up where my mom didn't really know where to put me for dance and those kinds of things. Even though my dad's a kinesiologist, my mom is very much not in that genre. But I've been doing a lot of just balance and core work with her, because she has some arthritis
Mm-hmm.
now, and she's really realizing that in order to stay active and live the lifestyle she wants as a senior, it's really important. And I think it's so great that you're getting adults coming maybe when they're a little younger, because I've tried to get my mom to come to my dance fitness
Yeah.
classes, but she's
Yep.
overwhelmed now because she
Mm-hmm.
never tried it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just great we're opening that up for people now.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's talk a little bit more about like the business side of things. Like, what is like the biggest impact you think having BoogieFit as part of your overall like business platform done for your studio?
There's a few ways you can go with that. I'll talk about having the adult classes. I think because I specialize in the babies as well, that season of life is so good to bring in adults, because those mamas of babies, they're begging for time for themselves, because they're so needed right now, right? Their hands are up, little hands are on them all the time. And I've seen that, I've been around long enough now where I see the mamas with, first grade and under, those kiddos, they're pretty apt to join a class. They're good. But then there's a season when they drift away, because then kids get more involved and whatever. And we just have to, and I always say, they always apologize to me. And I'm like, you guys, you're busy. I get it. You'll come around again,
Yeah.
when those kids start driving again, and then you'll come back and it'll be fine. It all works out. So that's good to have, that has fueled, those babies have fueled those adult classes. And then as far as marketing it, um, and forgive me if I'm going off, but I package it or make it so that it's very, and I do this in my tap and ballet classes, because I've done it so well with my BoogieFit that now I'm like, okay, ding, ding, this is working. So let's pass it into the other ones. And believe me, it's always a work in progress, but marketing it a couple weeks before, mid-month, next month, we're going to be dancing to this song. And then if I'm on top of my game, showing them, a clip of a 16 count phrase or something, so that people see, oh, okay, I want to do that.
Totally. I love that you keep your sessions really short. And I love that you mentioned that people get busier, because it's interesting. Like when I first started offering dance fitness classes at my studio, it was like, sign up for a full 10-week session. We had a pretty flexible makeup class policy and all of that. But I've definitely noticed as the years have gone on, and that kind of main clientele's children have gotten older, they really do need like either shorter sessions, so like 4 weeks in length, or they need that drop in
Mm-hmm.
ability. But I also love that it's progressive, because I do feel as though people just feel so accomplished if they know that they can come back and continue to work on things. They see that own growth in
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And I know for me, like when you have young children, you spend so much time doubting yourself
Mm-hmm.
as a parent, and not necessarily always feeling like your efforts are leading to growth. It is such a challenging time. So to have a safe space where you can get together with some other ladies you built community with, and just see that growth together and like celebrate each other is so empowering
Yeah.
in building your studio community and just building up the people in your
Mm-hmm.
community in general.
Absolutely.
So I really love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about like how now you're like expanding BoogieFit. So it doesn't just live in the dancing house. What's that all about?
So this is something that I had the idea about 5 years ago. And I wanted to do virtual classes, and I just didn't have that technology at the time. Um, and then Facebook Live came about 3 years ago. And it gave me an opportunity to be like, if I put the phone up and teach, I can teach my aunt in Rochester how to tap, and I can do that. So that's what I started with. I started doing it, and it was very raw. I learned a lot. Things have improved so much since then, but that was about 2.5 years ago. And in the meantime, I saw another colleague package up her curriculum, and I'm like, that's gonna do well. I just saw it, and I'm like, that's gonna do well. And then, like 12 months later, she reached out to her network and said, "Hey, I'm coaching, taking on some clients. Maybe you have," because she had huge success, as I predicted. And she said, "Maybe you have something that you would like to package up." And I'm like, "Yes, yes." And because I had now that bank of content from teaching my people virtually, I had that bank of content to then package up BoogieFit and and test it, try it, package it up, see it. So this project is my pet project, and it's about 18 months old, and it's BoogieFit packaged up. So you have the marketing, you have the each week exactly what you're going to teach people via a little video. It has promotional materials that you can then custom to your, put your studio name, your time, and everything. I give a marketing tip every month that's a little different, ways to that not only help with that class, but other classes that you're teaching in your studio, and a coaching group that you can be part of for questions, or that community, private community with people that are already members. And then your warm up and cool down and playlist. It just has everything you need, and you may not use it all. You may just go, I want the choreography, that's all I have. But you get all those other tools as well to do that. And then, access to me, like, okay, Melissa, help me out with this or whatever if you need it. So
That's so awesome, because I know for myself, like I love teaching adult
I know
dance
it's so
fitness
fun.
and have for years. But the biggest thing in my life is always it takes time to come up with that choreography, to, figure out like what moves am I putting together, what song are we dancing to, and then trying to put a playlist together. I mean, I honestly think sometimes people don't understand, like legitimately, how much time
No.
that takes. And if you're trying to, work on other sides of your business, or you're just, you're the only teacher, you're just getting started, or maybe you're trying to mentor other teachers, to have something that you can just like pick up and learn
Mm-hmm.
is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love that like you're available,
Mm-hmm.
because I know in earlier on, even when I had my own studio, I realized very quickly, there's other places I could be buying dance
Mm-hmm.
fitness
Totally.
choreography from. But one of my frustrations with the really big companies was you couldn't necessarily reach out to the original person you trained with, or whatever else. So, it may translate very
Mm-hmm.
differently than what your training initially was. So I love that you created a platform through groups that allows people to, reach out to you and ask those questions directly. I mean, I think technology has totally
I
changed what
know.
we're able to
Isn't it
do in this
awesome? It's
industry in
awesome.
general.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I really, I'm
So
sorry, I'm going to go on with that too. Just,
that's okay.
I get people, colleagues, they're like, that's a really good idea, Melissa. It's a really good idea. And you can just see them hesitate, because I get it too. Like, oh, I can come up with those dances. Like, I don't need to. And I'm not saying no, of course you can, but it comes down to your time. And even if you, like, if this is a monthly membership, you get a new dance every month, but maybe it's something where, you know what, I only want like three. You know, I just need some inspiration. I just need some tools. And I mean, yes, you can search YouTube and you can do all that stuff, but it's time. And and that's what I'm trying to like, this is your time, okay? And you only get so much time. So if you can just like, you know, take it, and I just have to think that way for myself too when I'm considering other stuff. Like, how is this
Absolutely.
saving me time? I have Jessica, I have you to help me with my babies because it's saving me time. Of course, I could look on YouTube and get all that stuff and get the playlist, but you have it for me. And that is why I invested in that. So,
No, I totally hear you. And I think the longer that I am in business, the more I realize outside of anything else, my time is my most
yep,
valuable
it is.
asset. And there's only so much of that. And so I have to be very specific with where I'm investing that energy. And that doesn't mean I stop other
No.
areas of my business, but I have to delegate or buy those resources. I was listening to another dance entrepreneur on one of the dance podcasts the other day. I can't even remember who it was, but she's very successful and does coaching and everything now. And she basically said, like, she had a choice in like the last 5 years of her business. She could have, just spent all of her time trying to learn this stuff on her own, but she was like, I'm going to fast track my success and I'm going to start buying things from experts because there's a reason they're successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to buy into that success so I can focus on my passion
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
projects. So can you explain to everyone then what you have available next week in terms of like memberships and ability to get involved with
Yeah,
BoogieFit?
yeah. So my membership is reopening on August 15th. So I close it on August 20th. So it's just open for 5 days. You can grab your free download of it. And that's a free download. You get to see it, try it, learn it, and see if it's right for you. And that's it. And I'll give you the link later on. I'll comment with the link later on so you guys can get that right away. And then what you get is a monthly subscription. You can choose to buy monthly, or you will have the opportunity to buy for a year for a really reduced price. Um, and like I said, what you get is a playlist morning for the warm up and the cool down. You get the choreography weekly broken down via video.
Some are studio
Mhm.
owners, others run mobile businesses, others have totally different business platforms. So do you think BoogieFit speaks to businesses outside of the traditional like brick and mortar dance
I
studio?
love that question, and I totally think I think it does. I think you could get it for yourself because hey, I want to dance at home. But yeah, I totally, you could bring this. It's not just geared for studio owners or for a teacher. It could be a teacher that wants to bring it to different classes. I also think of studio owners like, you know what, I want to have this class. I'm not teaching. I'm going to have somebody else teach it, or maybe they're co-teaching it. Maybe you want to have it on a Saturday, but you don't want to teach. That teacher can't do every week. Then it's a great, everything's laid out for you so clearly, so you all know that you're on the same page. So yeah, totally. Take it mobile, take it in-house, take it to your neighborhood, whatever. Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see like for some of our community members who maybe they have to rent the
Yeah.
facility they're going to. Well, maybe you run your IntelliDance class and then you stay afterwards and run a Boogie Fit.
hmm
And I mean, honestly, I'm always thinking of possibilities. Maybe after that IntelliDance class, there's the potential for someone to come in and offer childcare for the kids so the
hmm
moms can stay and get their time.
hmm
I just think it's important to always mention that to people because I think sometimes we just get so stuck in our own definitions or boxes of what we think works for a business,
hmm
and just to know that there's other opportunities. And I love that you said dancing for yourself, because the reality is we are all busy. And I know even for myself, finding a dance class I can go to on a regular basis in my own community is hard. I get sick of my own choreography, like just
Totally.
being
Yeah.
honest, I want to try someone else's. And if you sign up for a couple dance classes a week, I mean, I know your membership rates are super
Oh, so
reasonable.
totally.
I mean, even if you were just doing it for yourself,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. um so you're going to leave us a link if people are
Yeah.
interested in connecting
Absolutely.
with you. If they have like any questions or anything, is there like an email address or some way they can get a hold of
Yep.
you?
Melissa at thedancinghouse.com. So I'll put that on there
Awesome.
too. But super easy. Otherwise, just message me through Facebook here. I'm really good about getting back to people. But it is another option too is people tell me, oh my gosh, I have 2 studios, so I could have that IntelliDance class or the title class, and mom could be next door boogieing and having a great time. There's ways to do it creatively, or you have a ballet class that's already awesome and you love it. That could be your warm up, and then you go into just taking, make BoogieFit a half-hour class for you. You could take. There's just creative ways that you could do it and make it your own. Um, yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, it's my passion project, and I may be the only one that loves it. But
No.
what's fun, I love seeing it. I had a member from New Zealand, and I was like, huh. And that's just so cool, isn't it, Jessica? When you're touching
It's
people
so
all over
awesome.
the flipping world. That's so awesome. And people out west, and I'm like, gosh, it's just little me here in Wisconsin, and look at what's happening. It's so cool. So
Well, I just think it's so important for our community members to be inspired by
yeah,
other community members because it is so true, and we're such a diverse group. I mean, I thought I'd share a little bit too. For myself, when I really want to talk about in terms of business, what made my studio the most amount of profits, it really was like the early childhood IntelliDance classes and then my adult based either dance or fitness classes. Those clients compared to my like full year performance students who had recitals and costumes, when I really started breaking down, how much actual profit I made from a performance student versus one of my like babies or adult students, I made so much more money off of those students. And not that it's about money, but
but
it
it is,
is
yeah.
still at the end of the
Hmm.
day as business
Hmm.
owners, right?
Hmm.
So, and honestly, for
Wow.
myself, that's always been my passion. I love those
Yeah.
two ends and extremes. And that was as someone who, initially wasn't really sure what I wanted with my studio, because I'm always very honest with people. For me, it just kind of, it happened and I just kind of went with it. I didn't have a long-term plan or goal. I'm much better at that now. But it is what built my performance program too, because it was just another opportunity for the parents to experience me as a teacher. They experienced me one way with their kids in the babies classes. Then they got to come to an adult dance or dance fitness class and they got to see, oh, okay, she can teach outside of gallops and
Hmm.
skips. Like I'm learning dance, so I'm going to keep my kids here as well. So I think there's lots of connections for people who, want to be expanding their performance program to look at that as well. And the other side of that I love too is I had lots of clients who would come to the adult dance fitness classes, but over time they gained the confidence to then, oh, well, maybe I'll try beginner ballet,
Hmm.
maybe I'll try
Hmm.
tap. And some of these people who in the beginning, like honestly, when I first met them, I've never danced, I have 2 left feet, I'm so uncoordinated. After about like 5 years at the studio, they were performing in our
Yep.
recitals, with our adult recital classes.
Hmm.
So you just never
Hmm.
know. And I also think too, for myself, what I always loved is like, don't get me wrong, early childhood's my jam. I can probably listen to early childhood music more than the average person. But there is something so nice after days of, teaching as Miss
Hmm.
Jessica, just going into a class with
Yeah.
adults and being able to have these very real conversations and to show that other side of yourself.
Hmm.
I think the more multifaceted we appear and human
Yeah.
we appear as business owners to our clients, the better, because I feel they're just a little bit kinder to us when they realize, oh, like she's a mom
Yep.
too, and she goes through the same
Hmm.
things and she needs that
Yeah.
outlet. So
Yeah.
I just think I know for myself, like that really was, I owe a lot of the success to my studio, to that balance of the early childhood and the adults, and everything kind of filled in. And so when I saw you were like doing the same thing, I was just like, we gotta get
Yeah.
this girl chatting
Oh,
with the
thank
community.
you. Thank
So
you.
um so thank you
Yeah.
so much, Melissa, for sharing with us. She'll make sure she leaves her
Yep.
link. And if you have questions, like leave them in the comments.
Yes.
Melissa will pop back on and answer them. And yeah, and we're all so excited. Make sure you follow Melissa's Facebook page too, so we can all cheer her along
Yeah.
as she opens her brick and mortar. That's like so
Thank
exciting.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm just so thrilled for
Thank
you.
you.
And I have to say, you are like one of the kindest, most genuine people. I love reading your blogs. I
Mhm.
feel like they're so real. And I just appreciate that like level of vulnerability and honesty and transparency you share in our community. I just think it's so needed and so refreshing. So thank you for being so inspiring.
Wow. Wow. Thanks. Right back at you, girl.
You're welcome.
Right back at you. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. It's fun. And I hope you do more of these because it would be fun to meet everybody in the group kind of this way and what their niche is. So this is cool. Thanks for making this happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we'll definitely make these happen more often.
Cool.
All right, everyone.
All
Melissa
right.
and
Peace,
I
guys.
are out, but if you have questions, just make sure to answer.
All right.
We'll see you
Bye,
soon.
guys.
Bye.
Peace. Bye-bye.